Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva. All right, I hope you're all surviving the craziness that's going on. And there is a ton of craziness in the world. So, there's a reason why superhero movies are so popular. There's also a reason why there are so many people now who identify as starseeds, as earth angels, super empaths, variations along the same theme. People have this innate feeling that there's something about them that goes beyond three-dimensional reality. But I disagree a little bit with people who want to talk about being star seeds or from some other star system, because the truth is humans are destined to be Dr. Manhattans. This is our destiny, and we have reached a time in our history where we are at a plateau, a crossroads. We are at an evolutionary point of departure. And it's happened, throughout the evolution of life on planet Earth. The dinosaurs, dinosaurs are still around. They're birds. So these amazing, beautiful creatures that fly through the air and have such beautiful songs and voices, these were once big, giant, lumbering T-Rexes. They transformed. They're no longer attached to the earth. They can fly. So this is what happens when life runs into these plateau points, these crisis points of evolution, and we are in one. So that feeling, if you have that feeling that you aren't from here, that you don't belong here, that you are something else, and you long to have that experience of whatever it is, being a star seed or a earth angel or a super empath or whatever. The fact of the matter is that people have been doing this for hundreds and thousands of years. But those that were able to achieve the Dr. Manhattan status were people who had technology. Technology, I don't mean in the sense of circuit boards and computers. A technology is anything that, is a science. They had a method. And what is most amazing about the human body is that the human body, just surviving, having a heart and lungs and kidneys and all of the major organs, the nervous system, the limbic system, all of the things that go on in the body. Those things are just the basics, so it's like if you buy a computer, right, and you haven't, back in the day when you used to have to, optimize your computer. Nowadays they just come ready to go. But your body is that. It's ready to go. You have this three-dimensional avatar that is already set up to become a Dr. Manhattan, to create the transformation process to become what we, call metahumans. This is real. It does happen. It's been going on for a long time. You can call it, they were shamans, you can call them sorcerers, you can call them wizards, but they all had a technology that they used. And there are different kinds of technology that can be used. So for today, what I'm going to talk about is 3 phases of evolution to become a metahuman. And this is a huge science, just like it's very much like superhero animation or comic books. It's like there's no end to the amount of the different kinds of superheroes that can exist. There isn't just one kind. And that's what's fun about watching those animations or those, movies, is what happens when you have a metahuman with these powers and has to go up against a evil metahuman with these powers, and then what happens when these two, that's what's fun about it. So there isn't just a one size fits all. You are unique. So that feeling of being a starseed, for example, that is coming from the innate experience of somebody who says, I am unique. I feel unique. But let's be honest about it. People who claim to be starseeds, people who claim to be, earth angels and all that, the truth is that they really don't have a whole heck of a lot that makes them different. They might feel that they have maybe some heightened intuition or some, maybe they do have an innate healing power. Maybe they do have some innate psychic ability. But they really, if you think about it, if you run into any of these people, in practical reality, they really don't have a heck of a lot more than the average person. They might be a little bit more sensitive in some areas, but what they carry within them is this feeling that they can't shake, that they are beyond their three-dimensional reality. And so the way that manifests is because the assumption is that humans are just these, what people see, these meat bags walking around. And if you have this feeling that that there's something beyond that, then it makes it easier to tell yourself, oh yeah, I'm a starseed, I'm from another star galaxy, or I'm an earth angel, I'm actually an angel, but I've become a human, and I'm beyond human. But the truth is that all humans have that capacity. We're built with it. The Taoists understood this. The ancient indigenous spirituality of China, Taoism. People think that Lao Tzu is Taoism. Lao Tzu was a philosopher. Actually, he wasn't one person. He was many different people. And the name Lao Tzu just means old man, which means wise. So really what they're just saying, the wise man says that there wasn't a one person named Lao Tzu. But that isn't Taoism. People think that's what Taoism is, and that Lao Tzu is the god of Taoism, and that's not accurate. Taoism was the original shamanic indigenous practice of the Far East, and they have had an uninterrupted, continuous practice which has given them the ability to do a lot of practical research into the human body. And so the end result is that they have come up with various different spiritual technologies to flip on switches within the human body to allow people to go beyond the three dimensions. The yogis did the same thing in India, and they discovered the technology of Kundalini energy. They understood the chakra system, the 72 nadis of the energetic nervous system, mantra. These things were, again, you've got an uninterrupted, continuous practice and research from people who have an unbroken connection into prehistory with their spiritual practices. In the West, in Western Europe, we had similar things going on. The Druids were known to be metahumans. The tribal Germanic people had wizards. You've heard about those, and we see, echoes of that in Merlin the Magician, or actually Merlin would be Celtic, or with the Gandalf, Lord of the Rings. Gandalf means wand elf, by the way. So it means somebody who has a wand of power. So these are all echoes of other parts of the world that were also moving towards understanding these powers of becoming a metahuman. But unfortunately in the West, those things were cut short because of religion. Religion stopped that short. But the Chinese and the East Indians And peoples in other parts of the world, they continued with their practices and they found these sciences. So there are 3 phases. There's a lot more, but we'll talk about 3 phases that I've personally experienced in my practice with this. You want to check out the most powerful practice I know of, you can go to maoshan.thunderwizard.com and take a look at that. Now, that's not the only technology that I'm sharing with you. I'm sharing with you up here a synthesis of all the technologies that I've run into. So that includes Kundalini yoga practices, opening up of the chakras and opening up the psychic. By psychic, I mean the psychological power that is Kundalini. I'm sharing with you the life force energy that I learned through Qigong practice. And I'm also sharing with you the heretofore hidden powers of the lightning center of what's called the heart mind, which is hidden away within the heart chakra. So I synthesize all these together in this practice here. You go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe for 90-day lightning Qigong. You can be a part of that. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is where this practice is going to be going. So in phase 1 of this practice, I have given you things, and along with the celestial Qigong, I've given you things that lay the foundation. So before we get into the 3 phases, you first have to lay the foundation. So one of the first things that has to happen is you have to flip on the basic, it's like turning on the computer. You have to turn it on. If you don't turn it on, you're just basically a meat bag walking around. Your 5 organs basically just, process food and oxygen and waste. They don't do anything more than that. They are designed to do far more. The 5 organs, like when you see in the superhero movies or with forget his name, another superhero, the guy who's got the thing in his chest. You know who I'm talking about. I'm so bad with names like that. But the organs are actually capacitors for higher vibrational energies. And when you do these practices, the organs flip on and they start to change the human body and the human psyche. Now, of course, the basis is you have to be healthy. So if you're smoking and drinking and eating crappy food and you're not taking care of your physical meatbag avatar, then you can't flip it on. So you have to get that cleaned up first. And then you have to then get the vehicle ready. So this is what celestial Qigong is, and this is what the first phases of the 90-day challenge are. You have to just get everything moving and get everything flipped on. Right? You have to get the thing flipped on, and so that's what we've been doing. If you're in level 1. So what do we have now? 3 levels so far? There's going to be more levels that are becoming, and each time I introduce a new level, sometimes it's just one practice. Sometimes it's just one energy. Sometimes it's just slight variations on the practices or the postures that you already have. And each one of those is designed to flip on more switches inside your 3-dimensional meatbag avatar. But let me now talk about the 3 phases. So the 3 phases are, the first phase is we deal with learning how to tap in the physical body directly into the 3-dimensional matrix. And the part of you have 3 main energy centers. You have your lower self. This is true in shamanism as well. This is why in all original spiritual practices you have a trinity. You have it in Celtic understanding, you have it in Norse understanding, Odin, Vili, and Ve. You even have it in Christian understanding with God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. By the way, that is not part of the Bible. There's nothing in the Bible that says that God is a Trinity. That has purely been imposed by the early church fathers because they couldn't escape what they'd been taught, the Odin, Vili, and Ve. We have it in modern parlance with mind, body, and spirit. This is something we intuitively know. There are three main energy centers within the body. And the Taoists have it as well. And so do the Hawaiian shamans. So there is an understanding in all of this that the body is made up of three main energy centers. These three main energy centers represent three levels of transformation. My experience with most of the spiritual practices out there, this includes like Zen meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, most yogic practices, most shamanism practices, what they do is they open up the lower self. And if you've noticed in spirituality, besides the meditative practices, besides the energetic practices, you're basically dealing with, when people talk about becoming enlightened, there's this aspect of it that has to do with psychological awareness. And so people learn, this is the people seeking to get rid of their ego, seeking to find humility, seeking to become one with the universe. This is a psychological transformation. They're transforming themselves from the original human infantile experience of I am the universe, which is, there's some truth to that, but it's sort of flipped on its head. So the infant says, I am the universe, my feelings are everything. And then they learn to grow up, and they learn to mature, and they learn to allow other people to have their own experiences. They learn to be able to, ideally, if they're emotionally healthy, they learn to individuate and have their own internal experience and know that that isn't the universe. Their own internal experience of their feelings is not the universe. Then they learn to die to their narcissistic self if they follow a spiritual path. And then they learn to become one with everything. They achieve nirvana, they achieve enlightenment. This is what enlightenment is. Enlightenment is nothing more than having a mature understanding of your psychological functioning. But your psyche, I'm holding it like this because it's the lower self. The lower self is your psyche. My name is so-and-so, I came from here, I am this, I am that. The balancing of all that is the lower self. And once you get psychologically balanced, you have a mature, clear understanding between yourself and the objective universe, and you find the quantum entanglement, which is when people talk about, I am one with everything. They're talking about quantum entanglement. Physics is coming to this understanding. This is the first level. So when you're doing this practice, you'll notice, those of you who are doing this, and even the people who are doing the free stuff I have on the channel, like the Summoning the Immortals. If you're not familiar with that, go do that. I purposely put the Summoning the Immortals Qigong practice on my channel so that people wouldn't have to just take my word for it. It is a very advanced practice that normally you would have to spend years preparing for and getting permission to learn. But I made the decision, I broke the rules, and I gave it to the world for free. And I did that so that people, when they practiced it, would know what I was talking about. That I wasn't just talking out of my rear end. That you have a practical, physical, you can physically feel the Dr. Manhattan experience going on. So that is really just a way for me to get people connected to that, so that if they chose to, if they felt drawn to it, if it was their karma, their destiny, their orlog, then you can go ahead and start practicing with me on this. For those that want the elite level practice, this is the practice that in my experience, is the most powerful energetic practice on the planet. I can't speak for anybody else. It does take some physical dexterity and some skill to do it. But if you're able to do it, this practice, in my experience, is the most powerful there is. So I only know what I know. I've tried, as far as I know, everything out there that one can find. And I haven't found anything that even comes close to this. And in fact, the celestial qigong and some of the other things I do is a reverse engineering of this. It was so powerful. I haven't taught it publicly yet until now, and one reason has been because it's so powerful that the majority of people can't handle it. And so I wanted to deconstruct it and reverse engineer it so I could take it and give it to people so they didn't have to go through what I went through, which was very much the Dr. Manhattan kind of experience. I mean, I got the highest level of it, and without anybody, I just got thrown into the deep end, and my body went through major, unbelievable, as well as psychologically and spiritually, huge transformations that were, quite challenging. So I've been trying to find ways to help everybody have access to it without necessarily being blown to pieces while they do it. So the first level is the lower self, which is the psyche. Now, that sounds kind of boring, but the truth is your lower self is what creates physical reality. So the lower self is connected to physical reality. So the magicians, the wizards, the sorcerers, and just average everyday humans who have this seemingly magical ability to intend their reality. This is the lower self. People think it's the third eye. That's not the third eye. The lower self, when you get your psychological being, because you have a being in there which you think is you, but it's not. It's your psyche. By the way, there's no such thing as human beings as ghosts. There are ghosts, but the ghosts are not the souls of humans. The ghosts are the lower selves of humans. These are the lower selves of people who died either in tragic circumstances or they died not having achieved any real balance. And so that's why ghosts are scary. That's why ghosts are always moaning and crying. They're angry, they're upset, they throw things around, and when you see shamans try to communicate with ghosts, and if they're from the 1850s and you try and tell that ghost, no, it's actually 2021, go back to the light, the ghost will get upset and said, no, it's not, where's my treasure? Where's the hidden treasure? I have to find the person who shot me. I'm still walking around. Why doesn't anybody listen to me? That's their psyche. Somebody's psyche is running around. Their soul is somewhere else. All right, so that's the first phase. The first phase is just being able to get connected directly to this matrix of life force energy and to be able to manifest in the physical world your intentions. You get a lot of other things that go on along with that. You get a lot of superpowers that will be specific to you, but it's only level 1 or the first phase. These levels are arbitrary in and of themselves, but these 3 phases are not. So there's a second phase. The second phase is connected to the heart center. The heart center is the nexus. Everything else, the upper and the lower center really are kind of revolving around this focal point, which is the heart center. In the heart center, you have the soul, who you are, the true infinite part of you that is not connected to this earth. So that feeling that you have that you are from some other star constellation, that you are an earth angel. You're actually an angel, but you're in human form. You're above other humans. It's not that you're above other humans. It's that you are feeling this intuitive understanding that there's something about you that is godlike, that is not temporary, that it is eternal, that it is omnipotent, This is your soul. So your soul, unless it's been activated in such a way as to connect directly to the physical body, the soul is just a traveler. The soul is just a visitor. It's a voyeur. It's a tourist. It's watching a video. It's inside the train looking out the window. The soul, unless it's been activated to connect directly to this three-dimensional reality, it will just sit back and watch. And people who end up, many people, we all go through some level of this, but you know the people who they complain about how no matter what they do, they can't seem to get their life together. They can't seem to make any money. They can't seem to get their health together. They can't seem to have relationships. No matter what they do, and they complain about no matter how hard I try, I can't get anything to work. Well, that's because their soul is infinite and all-powerful and all-knowing, and they sense that, but they don't have any way to get that infinite power into their life. And so for them, like many others, the soul is just sitting back and watching. It's just eating popcorn and it's watching what's happening. So the second phase is to get the soul directly connected into this three-dimensional reality. Now, anybody who's followed this or practiced this or any of this, you know what I'm going to start saying next. There is a power in your heart center which is normally unstimulated. It stays self-contained, and its main function is to protect the soul from the harshness of three-dimensional reality. And the soul being infinite, the soul is incredibly powerful. The soul itself is a portal to infinity, which is why when people have flashes of experience, whether they do it through entheogens, whether they do it through meditation, they have a spiritual experience, they have a near-death experience, that's probably the fastest way to do it, which is why when people take things like ayahuasca and mushrooms, they have experience, because the truth is those things are toxins and you're putting your body through a near-death experience. And so the soul cracks open from its shell and you can have all kinds of spiritual experiences, but it's it's actually crude. It's a crude method of cracking the soul open into three-dimensional reality. And that's why it's, these things are, if you do these things on a regular basis, it's bad for the physical body. But that's why. The soul is a portal to infinity, and it is more powerful than anything in this physical world. If your soul were to be immediately released into three-dimensional reality, it would destroy three-dimensional reality. It would burn through it, burn a hole right through it. So it also cannot tolerate the harshness of three-dimensional reality. People hurting you, people betraying you, people manipulating you, people abusing you. This is part of the lower self. This is part of the three-dimensional reality. Survival of the fittest. That is not something the soul understands or is used to. So in order to protect the soul from this harshness, there is this power called the heart mind, the lightning power, the feminine, the true Shakti. It surrounds your soul and it stays self-contained to keep the soul pure and to keep the soul from being damaged by this very challenging experience. It's also there to protect three-dimensional reality, because if the soul is released through it, like I said, it'll burn a hole right through three-dimensional reality. This is why when people die, what is the first thing that happens? They go through a tunnel. And when they go through a tunnel, they end up somewhere else. This is one of the reasons why that is. And they can see what's going on in the world, and they can see what's happening to people. They can communicate to other people, but that's why, if you have somebody that's really close to you and they've passed away, you can feel they're not here anymore. You can feel it. It's because they're not. They're not trapped in three-dimensional reality anymore. They have access to us in roundabout ways, but we don't have direct access to them anymore. So this lightning power is the hidden power that these guys understood. And when you release this is the second phase that, in my arbitrary delineation here. This second phase, this lightning power no longer is self-contained. It is now begun to be released into the meridian system of the body. And in one of my videos, I talk about some of the ways that you can become a Dr. Manhattan, how you notice it. And we talk about what happens when the energy is released. Those of you who are doing the Summoning the Immortals practice, and somebody just recently said, wow, thank you, my hands are tingling. Well, that's because one of the most direct ways to the heart-mind center is through the palms of the hands. Have you ever wondered why people shake hands? And it's not just a cultural thing. Chimpanzees do it. They shake hands. It's a method of greeting. But it's because when you shake somebody's hand, what you're doing is your Lao Gung point, which goes directly to this heart mind, to your soul. When you hold hands with somebody else like that, those two Lao Gung points are connected. That's why lovers hold hands. It's not that big of a deal. Why not hold elbows? Why not, why do people want to hold hands when they're in love? Because they want the heart centers to connect. And these are instinctual, they're not cultural. It feels good. You can feel, when you hold somebody's hand and you're in love with them, you can feel a shift in your body because the heart minds are connecting. So when you start to release this heart mind energy, it goes into the body through these various meridians. And all of the postures that you see me doing, including this right here, these postures that you see, which look like just any other, Qigong practice, actually are focusing here. So this is the second phase. It's opening up. So this is called the transformation of the butterfly. So what is it about butterflies that are spiritual? Butterflies start as caterpillars, worms basically. Then they go into a cocoon. And when they come out of the cocoon, they can fly. And so there's an ancient Taoist, I don't know what you want to call it, scripture, poem, or whatever. It says, I dreamt I was a butterfly, dreaming I was a man. So the question is, are you a man dreaming you're a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming you're a man? So this second phase is the path of the transformation from the caterpillar to the butterfly. In this, you learn how to connect directly to the highest level of the masters. You have a direct connection. They work directly with you on whatever levels you're designed for. For many people, including myself, who do these practices, when you choose to, even if you don't choose it sometimes, but when you choose to, this is why in the Summoning the Immortals Qigong, we face the northwest. Because the northwest is the realm of the ascended human masters. The northeast is the realm of the celestial gods. The northwest is the direction of the celestial masters. The elves, humans, the bodhisattvas, humans who have achieved a level of awareness and no longer are limited by needing to come into human form to learn and to grow. And so when you consciously reach out to the beings in the northwest and you do these practices, you begin to have direct connection. You no longer need a teacher. Now, you do need to have a teacher in the sense of, for me, I've got to teach you how to do the techniques. I've got to teach you how to be able to transcend the resistance that will come in, which will be manifested in your wrong postures, your wrong techniques. If you're one of my apprentices, we spend a lot of time talking about things that don't seem to be connected to the practices. And that's because they're all connected. Your ability to do these movements correctly is going to be associated with your psychological ability to tap into your eternity as opposed to your limitations. So if somebody's having difficulty and they can't get this one move right, there's usually some corresponding psychological block to it. So this is a hack. This is a true hack into the most powerful energy center of the body. You're technically breaking the rules because this lightning power is not designed to be released. It's meant to stay self-contained, keeping the soul safe and keeping out the traumas of three-dimensional reality. Of course, that never really works because those traumas build up. If you don't do work, if you don't learn how to cry it out, forgive, accept all of your feelings, go beyond your limitations. If you don't do that, you're still angry, you're still frightened, you're still scared, you're still normal human things. Those things build up and they end up sapping the energy of the lightning power out of the body, and then you get old and you get sick. And so this is what immortality is about. There are people who have the ability to stay youthful right up until their passing. There was a guy in India in the 70s who passed away. He was 90 years old. There's still some videos of him. He lived in the Himalayas. He just walked around, on a diaper and a staff. He didn't have anything. He just lived in the caves up there. And he would talk about how he no longer needs to do any mantra or ritual. He doesn't have he's just one with himself. And he looked like he was in his 30s right up until he died. He was 90-something when he died, but he looked like he was 30. You couldn't tell by looking at him how old he was. In the Mao Shan practice, there's legends of practitioners who, because they understand how to manipulate this power, they phase completely out of existence in our three-dimensional existence. They don't die, they just disappear. They bury them. Some of them, they put them in coffins and bury them, and then they dig them up 30 days later, and there's nobody home. There's nobody there. And you might see them walking around. So these stories of running into masters in the mountains that disappear out of nowhere, that's where these stories come from. So some people can achieve that level of immortality without ever having to lose the physical body. This was the goal for many Taoists. They wanted to become perfected immortals. They weren't trying to achieve enlightenment, which is a Kundalini thing. Kundalini is psychological. So achieving enlightenment means you're free of all the baggage of lower level psychological pains and issues, which is what Buddha was all about. Again, that Kundalini tradition from India, you're going to have that same kind of thing. The Taoists wanted to become Dr. Manhattans. They wanted to achieve immortality. And for them, immortality didn't mean living in the human body forever. It meant not having to be reincarnated in order to learn. They wanted to keep their same awareness and then take that into the next realm and continue to learn and to grow. They didn't want to have to keep dropping their, forgetting and come back. They wanted to change that. But that, in my experience, is done most powerfully from here. This lightning power does things to the body. Throughout my whole life, as I've been practicing this, usually women, men don't like talking about it or don't noticing it. But if a woman holds my hand or touch my hand, she'll lots of times stop and, how is your hand so soft? Or if they're touching on, my skin on my body, how is your skin so soft? I can't get my skin that soft. And I lift weights. I don't have any calluses on my hands. So this is because this lightning energy, especially in the hands, is released, and it will either eliminate or reverse the aging process. And so this is why you have sometimes these older, these old people, but even if they got gray hair and you can tell that they're old, there will be something about them that comes off very young. This is the second phase. So the third phase, the second phase is becoming like a butterfly. The butterfly is able to pass through the mirror. And I know people say, they hear me talk about it and they start getting all flipped out. And I've experienced that, and I'm like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but trust me, you haven't experienced it. It sounds like it, you've had some experiences, but I don't think you have. This practice, in my experience, is what will give you that true understanding of the mirror. So that is the power of the butterfly, the two wings. And I'm going to be introducing practices. I'm going to be introducing a specific exercise called the butterfly hands, which do exactly that. And you'll see the power of it. When you do it and practice it, you might get kind of loopy, because you'll feel yourself, going beyond, your experience of three-dimensional reality. That's coming up very soon in a later installment of the Lightning Qigong. So that's the second phase of transformation, which is the heart center. The third phase is the upper center, and this is becoming an immortal, becoming a god. Literally, it's the idea of becoming a god. People think that opening their third eye and having a spiritual experience or being able to be psychic, they've opened their third eye, and that's not what that is at all. I'm not saying that they haven't had that or accessed some of it, because the pineal and the pituitary are very important for that. The third eye really is the pineal and the pituitary gland. And so this is what people are tapping into when they do things like ayahuasca. You are force feeding. Again, it's violence. This is why, people get all flipped out about how awesome, entheogens are, and this is true shamanism, but the truth is it's a very violent, crude process. That's why when you eat mushrooms or peyote buttons, or if you do ayahuasca, what's one of the first things that happens? You throw up and you have diarrhea. Your body is trying to reject the poison. So in order to get that level of DMT flowing into the pineal and the pituitary, you have to, you're literally squeezing them out. It's very violent. It's very destructive. There's a way to do it without any of that, with zero side effects. That's what all this stuff here is. Those of you who are doing it, and you're at the levels so far that I've taught, you now understand what I'm talking about. I told you going into it. I tell everybody going into it that you are going to go through some transformation, and your first experience is going to be a lot of emotional awareness, a lot of potentially challenging emotions, along with a lot of blissful emotions. I've designed the level 1 specifically to give you as much of a blissful experience as you can. It's not my intention to, thrust you into the challenging parts of feeling some of the unresolved emotional and psychological issues come to the surface, but that's unavoidable. But if you keep doing the practice, eventually the blissful experiences start to outweigh the negative ones. And then you're going to have an experience of having the DMT flowing through your body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Those of you who have done this, or even done, even the free summoning the immortals, maybe you've experienced when you wake up in the morning, or as you're waking up, the soles of your feet and the palms of your hands will be pulsating. There have been people who they'll wake up and the calluses on their heels will just drop off. big chunks of calluses will fall off. Big chunks of calluses on the hands will just fall off. And that is, you're experiencing that. You're experiencing the body regenerating and the cell structure changing. You're literally going back in time. You're taking your body back to a state of purity where it wants to be. You know, this whole Dr. Manhattan thing, it's a fictional character, but you know, it's because the reason why people keep making these same mythological stories, whether it's superheroes in modern times or whether it's, you know, Thor and the gods and Hercules, it's because there is the soul understands and remembers this, and these are really, you know, ways to flip on that awareness within human beings. Mythology is designed to get people to first get into a state of believing the impossible. Suspension of disbelief. It creates a suspension of disbelief. And then, you know, like with Star Wars. Star Wars started out as a movie, and now there is a religion. The Jedi religion. There are people who are following the Jedi religion now. It's because this mythology is wanting to reveal to us what we are capable of. And so in times like we're in now, you know, there's all kinds of chaos going on. There's political chaos. We've got global shifts of you know, the environment is shifting, climate shifts, and now we have this virus which is not following the rules. By the way, I'm not going to talk about it on this channel because YouTube would block it. But I have come to some, you know, I told you guys that I wouldn't talk about the vaccine, and I wouldn't talk about COVID until I had come to some understandings. And I think I've come to some understandings, and I'm ready to talk about it. But I'm not going to talk about it on YouTube because YouTube will shut me down. So I will upload something onto my Odyssey site. So if you've never been, go to, I think it's just odyssey.com. Odyssey.com, I think that's what it is. And you can look for thunderwizard.com on there. I am going to upload my thoughts, because I now think I have something of value to say, and I'll give some thoughts about what my plans are for myself in terms of how to protect myself from this whole COVID thing. And I'll talk about vaccines, and I'll talk about existing medications that apparently can prevent COVID from even, can cure it. So again, I'm not going to talk about it on YouTube because they'll shut me down. So but the whole point of that is that we are now in this phase where we've got this virus which is forcing us. The reason why, look, in the United States, you know, on a personal note, I find it disgusting and hilarious all at the same time. There are people going to PTA meetings, and there are parents who are punching teachers in the face because teachers are requiring kids to wear masks. I mean, it's just, I understand why people don't want to be told what to do. I can understand the feeling of that. But I mean, literally, it's just a piece of cloth over your face. It's just not that big of a deal. The reason why people are getting so bent out of shape isn't because of a cloth covering your face. I have a cloth over my body. I have to go out in public and wear at least, you know, a banana hammock if I want to go down to the beach. I have to at least cover some part of my body. So, you know, that's really not the issue. The issue is what it represents. It's symbolized being stifled, being told that you can't speak, the feeling that you can't breathe. This is symbolic of being trapped in this three-dimensional human form. That's why it's so volatile. That's why people are so upset. That's why people feel so controlled and manipulated. And the way out from that isn't through politics. It isn't through getting your guy into office, because hey, every kingdom falls. The United States will fall. Rome fell. All of them. Every single empire has fallen. And there are places in the world that, like Egypt, used to be the pinnacle of society, and now it's a third world country. Same thing with the Middle East, and what is now Iraq. That used to be the pinnacle of society, and now it's a third world country. Rome is still part of the first world, but it's nothing like it was. Greece, nothing like it was. The United States will fall, and another will take its place. All of these things are temporary. Wasting your time getting bent out of shape over politics is just that. It's a waste of time. Put all of that time and effort into you, transforming yourself. And so this is what we're talking about up here. This third one is becoming a god. Becoming a god doesn't mean that you control other things. That's a childish understanding. Becoming a god means you've transcended. You've transcended beyond these limitations. You're able to slip in between the worlds like Odin. Odin didn't become king or emperor of the universe. Odin's main goal was to transform, and he rides his horse Sleipnir, which means slipper, that which slips between the worlds. That's what makes Odin so frightening. Odin is actually a very jovial character. When you connect with him, he's actually very mischievous, and he laughs all the time. He's got a lot in common with Loki. In fact, Odin and Loki are flip sides of the same being. But that's the goal. The goal is to transcend beyond all of this nonsense. And that's what happens when you get up here. You could have the lower self completely empowered, but still be trapped in three-dimensional reality. This is in the East Indian tradition. This is Brahma. Brahma used to be worshipped as the ultimate, and Brahma is not worshipped even barely at all now. And the mythology where Brahma and Vishnu, the two of the Trinity, Brahma and Vishnu, which represents the lower self and the heart center, these two beings were noticing this pillar of light that shot infinitely up and infinitely down. And they decided to go find out where it ended. And so Vishnu said, "I'll go up," and Brahma said, "I'll go down." And they both went their separate ways, trying to find the end of this pillar of light. And then they came back after eternities, and Vishnu said, "I couldn't find the end." And Brahma lied, and he said, "Oh yeah, I found it." And because Brahma lied because of his ego, because he is the lower self wants to feel like it has comprehended infinity. Which is why people who have psychological problems think that they're gods. They think that they control everything. It's because the psyche, the lower self, the limitation of the lower self is the inability to really truly understand infinity, which is why everybody, whether they have mental disorders or not, everybody has this craziness about their ego. That's the lower self. The middle self wants to connect to the highest realm of reality and knows that it can't. So it comes back and it says, yeah, I can't. So the heart worships, the soul worships infinity. And the higher self itself, the Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. By the way, if you want to completely understand Vishnu, watch everything you can about Superman. Watch Superman movies, watch Superman cartoons, comic books. Superman is Vishnu. Where does Superman get his power? From the sun. What is the sun? The sun in astrology is the soul. And so, and kryptonite, what destroys him is what? His physical lower self. In order to become Superman, his physical lower self must be destroyed. But if he's reminded of his kryptonite past, just having kryptonite in front of him, it starts tearing him apart. He loses all of his power. And then if you blast him with kryptonite and he becomes weak and sick, as long as you can get him out in the sun, if you can carry him out in the sun, if he lies down in the sun long enough, he'll become infinite again. These are all stories of the three selves. All right, so this is a subject that we could talk about forever and ever and ever, but I thought I'd babble on and on for a little while about it. If you want to have a deeper physical understanding, not just talk about it, but if you want a physical experience of this energy, if you really want to feel this, if you're a person, you've incarnated because you are here to transform this world. You are an earth angel. You are a starseed. You are a super empath. You are somebody you can feel you have come here to transform the world. Because here's one of the truths. People who have come here to transform the world, until they find their power, will be utterly miserable. So that feeling of misery that you have, that suicidal misery, and the feeling that you have that you are a super empath, an earth angel, a starseed, whatever word you want to use, that's a real thing. But until you actually flip the switch on and get that power connected to you, you will be utterly miserable. There will be something completely lacking. You will feel you don't belong. You will think you're a stranger. You won't find a connection. You won't like other people. You won't be able to, you'll attract abusive people into your life. This is one of the signs of somebody who's come here to transform the world who has not found their power yet. All of these links here are designed to connect you to not just a thought, but an actual physical power that will transform you. And if you don't believe me, I dare you to give it a try. I dare you to do the 90-day challenge. That's why I call it the 90-day challenge. I dare you to do it, and I absolutely challenge you to do it every day for 90 days. And if nothing happens, and you have no experience, and you feel no power, I will post your comments. I'll let you, if you can prove to me that you did it, and nothing happened for you, I will be the first to let you tell the world, what a fraud all this is. So give it a try. You got nothing to lose. All right, let's see if there are any questions here. So again, I prefer questions. If you have a question, write the word question. As you can see up here, Green Skydiver did it. Wrote the word question in all caps and then wrote a question. Please do that, or share an honest feeling if you have one. Green Skydiver, question. I want to start doing the practices and go towards my soul desire, but I am unsure of what you say. Should I be certain before I start? Look, I've already given you stuff. I've given you free stuff. There's no shortage of free practices on the channel. So, if whatever I don't know what else I can do other than go to your house and give you free stuff. I don't know what else I can do. But you got to put the effort in and you got to do it. I've given you literally one of the most powerful practices on the earth in the summoning the immortals Qigong. What have you got to lose? What's the worst thing that can happen? In terms of this, you can unsubscribe. If you subscribe and you try it out for a week and you realize it's nonsense, just unsubscribe. It'll cost you what it cost, a coffee a day for a month. Less than that. I mean, if you go every day and drive to Starbucks or whatever and get something, I mean, just don't, take that amount of money, put it towards that. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. So, forgive me if I sound impatient, but it's okay with me if you're feeling, but look, you're not signing your soul to me. You don't even have to interact with me. In fact, I don't want you to interact with me unless you're one of my apprentices. So, I mean, should you be certain before you start? How could you possibly be certain of anything? You haven't done it yet. If somebody says, if you've never seen a picture, like in Australia, let's say you've never seen any pictures or video of Australia. Nobody tells you what a kangaroo is or a wombat or the enormous bats that are out here. These bats are the size of German shepherds with wings. They are enormous. And the kookaburras. I mean, if nobody told you what it was like here, you can't prepare yourself for something like that. So what do you mean, should you be certain before you start? I mean, what have you got to lose? If you don't want to keep doing it, stop doing it. I can't make it any easier. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says, hello, Vincent.thunderwizard. Vincent is one of my certified astrologers. You can go to his website, Vincent.thunderwizard.com, and get a reading from him. I highly recommend it. Enoch, if you have a question, welcome to the channel. You see below you, question in all caps. Write that word in all caps and then write your question so I don't miss it. That's the whole point of that. I don't want to miss your question. And when there's a lot of people, I can miss your question. You say, what is the best solution for people still following religion out of fear for the afterlife? My channel. Go do anything. Everything I do will release you from religion. If you go to courses.thunderwizard.com, you'll find a book on there called Odin Says Jesus Was a Coward. That title, as big and bombastic as it is, actually I go into history and I show you through history how religion was created, why it was created. I don't just talk about it, I prove it to you. This is actual historical fact. And when you see it on paper and you see it for what it is, religion loses its power. So you've been programmed. You've been programmed by a cult. I had to go through cult reprogramming myself, not like specifically, but all of these practices I did were a way of reprogramming myself from a cult. So you have been in a cult, you have been programmed. That is a real thing. So the best solution is to deprogram yourself. And if you want to read the books, in fact, you don't even have to read the book. Again, I give everything out on my channel. If you learn how to go to my channel, by the way, everybody should do this. If you don't know how to do it, learn how to do it. Go to my YouTube page, thunderwizard.com. If you just type that into the YouTube page, my page will come up. Or you can click on my profile and my YouTube page will come up. You can then go into the playlists and find whatever you want there. If you have a specific thing you want to look for, you can search. So learn how to search within it. There's a magnifying glass on a laptop. I don't know, on a phone, there's a drop-down menu, search the channel. Type in whatever you want. Type in Christianity. I've got who knows how many hundreds of hours of me telling you what Christianity is, where it came from historically. And when you do that, it takes the power away. You can realize that it's all been made up and you've been manipulated and you have been traumatized. And so the best way out is to do anything that I teach. Do any of the practices that I teach. But if you want to specifically do that, take a look at that. If you do the 90-day challenge, trust me, your understanding of religion will start to come apart. It might be challenging, but that's what happened with me anyway. Jameson Song, question. Advice to work through and take action regarding desire to dissolve illusions and teach all. Aruda equals a detached spiritual scholar, unsolicited advice, abuse, but others' actions from willful ignorance, anger blinds me. So, Jameson, I appreciate the question, as always. I appreciate the feelings. My answer to you is always going to be the same. Your main issue is just that you've been programmed to criticize yourself and doubt everything that you say, think, feel, and do. I know you personally. Those who don't, that's how I know this much about him. So just be yourself. Even though I have this feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. Let me write it down again. That's the most powerful affirmation there is. I know you know it, Jameson, but others may not. Even though I have this feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. That's enlightenment right there. You guys want to know what enlightenment is? Enlightenment isn't being floating and feeling blissful all the time. Enlightenment is that, having all your thoughts, feelings, impulses, no matter happy, sad, comfortable, uncomfortable, even if you feel like you're going crazy, the most enlightened anybody can ever get is to be having all of their thoughts and feelings, no matter how comfortable or uncomfortable, and still taking constructive action. It's the only thing you need to master in this life. And if you can master that, you will be an enlightened being. So just keep doing that. That's my answer to your question. Green Skydiver question. My obstacles seem to be too much to face. Should someone face their obstacles no matter what they appear to be? I think you have the answer to that question. Your obstacles won't kill you. Your feelings won't kill you. Listen, if I can do it, anybody can do it. When I was 17, 18 years of age, it is the most challenging experience of my life. I won't tell you how I got to where I was, but I was in such a state of insanity and pain that my whole body, it was actually like a vision in my head, and my whole body was trying to get me to jump out of a plate glass window 2 stories above the street and crash to my death. And it wasn't just like I was sad and I wanted to kill myself. Like my whole body, like my brain was showing me this picture over and over again. And I sat and looked at a clock. It was one of those clocks that ticked. This was a long time ago. It was way back in 1981. And I sat looking at the clock and I said, I'm going to go 10 seconds because I couldn't tolerate the thought of going 20 seconds, 15 seconds. I'm going to go 10 seconds and I'm not going to jump out the window. And my whole life for the next 10 seconds was to watch the second hand on the clock. And when I got to the 10 seconds, I breathed a sigh of relief and I went 10 seconds. I didn't jump out the window. I'm going to go another 10 seconds. And I watched for 10 more seconds and I did that. I did that for a long time, and those 10 seconds turned into 10 minutes, and those 10 minutes turned into a half an hour. Half an hour turned into an hour turned into 6 hours, 6 hours turned into 24 hours, and then it was just 24 hours at a time. So this idea that you have to feel something is nonsense. You don't have to feel sure. You don't have to overcome this. You just have to do it. You know this already. You want to become a bodybuilder. You don't have to sit and get yourself prepared. You just go and start lifting weights. Just get in the gym. When you lift weights, regardless of how you feel about it, regardless of what your plans are, you lift weights, you go home, you eat some food, and you sleep, your muscles will grow. So, green skydivers, you don't have to do all this mental gymnastics. You don't have to, you have fear, insecurity, doubt. Okay, so what? It's just a feeling. You're not your feelings. You are the result of your actions. So just do the practices. And when you're doing the practices, you're going to be unsure. I want you to get used to being unsure. If you think you're going to get over your insecurity, because unsure is another word for insecurity. If you think you're gonna get over your insecurity, you will never do anything, and you'll be this way 10, 20, 30 years from now. So it's not about your feelings, it's about your actions. And so I don't know how else to inspire you. And you don't have to do it forever. You just have to do it for now. Okay, I'm going to do that meditation for the next 10 minutes. I'm going to do that practice for the next 3 minutes. That's all you have to do. You don't have to feel sure about anything. Okay, what else? Donson asked me to remind me to speak about chaga. Well, did I do that? It's just chaga and rishi are two. They're two adaptogens, and I believe that they are. No, I know that they are. They are. Sorry, I get kind of loopy when I talk about this stuff. They are mushroom that you can get over the counter. So chaga and rishi, look for those. They're very helpful, very empowering. What do I think about avatars? Jonathan Allen, I welcome to the channel. I welcome you to actually have thought through and have a real question. What do you mean, what do I think about avatars? What kind of avatar? You mean like Vishnu? Vishnu is an avatar? You mean like avatar in your computer? You're an avatar, Jonathan Allen. How do you feel about that? You're an avatar. Avatar means descended. It means descended from the sky. You are an avatar. If you have a more specific question, I'll be happy to answer it. Green Skydiver question. Can an agreement with dark entities be reversed? Can they stop you from living a happy life permanently? Green Skydiver, my answer to you is going to be the same no matter all of these questions. It's going to be the same. Stop getting so bent out of shape over thinking, this fear of this and I've done that. Who gives a crap? You don't have to reverse any agreements. You just have to stop following them. I'm willing to, so what? You did some kind of a ritual to a negative entity and now you think you're cursed for eternity? Watch my videos on demon possession and exorcisms. The short answer to your question is just start doing the practices. Stop, seriously, get out of your head. It's okay with me that you have fear and your head is going crazy. It's not about what you think or what you feel. Just go do the practices and you can find out for yourself. This energy is used to fight demons. The Maoshan spirit fighters, this practice right here, at least I teach you the beginnings, the entry level stuff of it. These guys, and I did this a few times, these guys had the ability to go and fight demons with their bare hands. The only people I know of that are able to do that. Everybody else has to use a mantra, or they have to use a ritual or a special talisman, or they say the name of some deity or something like that, and that's how they fight against. These guys would just go fight them with their bare hands. Because the kind of energy that comes out is, it comes out of your hands. You want to have that kind of power, you'll destroy whatever negative attachments that you have. You might be frightened as you do it. They might try and scare you. So what? Bullies are always like that. Bullies are paper tigers. Whenever you face down a bully, they will cower in front of you. I've walked into places, and people get up and with just looking at me, they get up and walk out of the room because they're worshiping demons or whatever. I'm the last person you want to bring on a ghost hunting tour, because if I walk into the haunted house, all the ghosts will hide. You'll never see them. You want that kind of power? You don't have to worry about any negative entities. What else? Okay, Pro Vagyok says, I become metahuman, want pictures about me, it's possible. Congratulations. My suggestion is to go to your own channel, make your own videos, and you can tell people how you did it. Don't spam yourself on my channel. Maybe that wasn't your intention, but I'm here to give people specific access how they can do it. Really think about it. Is it really, I mean, how are you helping somebody by just pointing at yourself? Look at me. Teach people how to do it. And I'm already doing that in my own way. So if you want to do that on your own channel, go right ahead. And I wish you all the best. I know that there's more than one way to do it. So if you're telling the truth, I wish you all the best. Question, Jameson Song, asking what is constructive when people spout nonsense and dogma which harms others through their programming. Allow, challenge, prune, or is this codependent? It's codependent. You know, you just saw what I did with Pro Vagyok. You know, I didn't challenge him. I didn't deny him. I don't know if he's telling the truth or not. You know, whatever my thoughts are irrelevant anyway. But you just don't engage. He wants to, you know, he wants to go do it. He can do it on his own channel, and I honestly wish him all the best. So you've got friends spouting nonsense, which you think, the idea is you say this is harms others through their programming. That's the codependent phrase. Nobody can be harmed without their own permission. So if somebody is spouting harmful nonsense and somebody else is harmed by that, that's because they choose to interact with it. We don't give out unsolicited advice. You know, my channel is, you know, I spout what I want, but people have to choose to come on, so it's not unsolicited. Unsolicited advice is you walk up to somebody who's wrapped up in what they're saying and doing, and, you know, storming the Capitol is the ultimate in unsolicited advice. You have a bunch of people are there, they're going through their process and doing their job, and a bunch of people with clubs and mace and you know, a bear whatever, bear spray, try to stop people from doing their job and impose their idea of what should be. So it's codependent of you to feel the need to get in between somebody else. You know, leave them alone. If they're spouting nonsense and other people are buying into it, then it's, you know, maybe if it's intolerable, then it's time to find other friends. So yes, what you're talking about is codependent. Let people be themselves, let them be mistaken. It's not your job to go around and correct people, but it is your job to be available to anybody who wants to ask for your help. Green Skydiver question. Sometimes think that I am supposed to take fearless action without a vision of what my life can be and without the knowledge that the universe can give me anything, I think. I'm not quite sure I understand what you're saying. How can you take fearless action without a vision? What are you taking action towards? So I'm missing something. What I'm hearing in that is that you feel that you need to take fearless action. That I agree. If having a vision means you have to figure it out ahead of time and feel comfortable about it, I don't agree with that. You just have to know what it is that you want. What do you want? Go do it. Pro Vagyak wants to teach people or wants to tell people he's a metahuman. He should go do that. He should go start a channel. He should write a book. He should make videos. He shouldn't come onto my channel and try and, you know, spout his thing on my channel. That doesn't serve him. And it doesn't serve me. He should go do it on his own channel. So you don't have to, I mean, just, you know, look, just do the practices. Green Skydiver, just for now, do the practices. Everything else will work itself out. Pro Vagyak said, I did asceticism and self-denial and overtraining. Overtraining is a bad thing. You know that? That's not a good thing. I mean, I don't know, maybe in English, overtraining is bad. Overtraining, like in the gym, destroys muscles. So that's good for you, Pro. Again, Go on your own channel. Write your own books. Make your own videos. Why are you coming onto my channel and trying to promote yourself on my channel? You're not asking for my help. You don't want to learn what I'm teaching. You just want to go and promote yourself, which is great. Do that on your own time. Okay? If you want to do what I'm doing, you've got plenty of, you can do the free stuff, or you can sign up and subscribe, whatever you want. You can give my thing a try. If not, seriously, man, don't crash my party. Go start your own. I'm serious about that. I am supporting you. Go do your thing. All right, what else? Nothing else? I don't see any other questions. So we can leave it at that for today. So yeah, well, Jonathan Allen throws a question out. Have you ever heard of anyone displaying metahuman abilities without control? Yes. Without realizing it or thinking it may have been. Let me help you. This drives me crazy. The English language is a beautiful language. May have been a dream. There is no such phrase as may have been a dream. It's not your fault. A bunch of people do it. Without realizing it or thinking it may have been a dream. So Jonathan Allen, if you're asking about yourself, you will get a lot more respect from me if you are vulnerable and say, I think this is the thing with me. So talking in the third person about have I heard of this or heard of that is passive aggressive, and it's not coming from strength. If this is you, then say, here's what I think happened to me. What do you think? So if that's what you're saying, that you think that you have displayed metahuman abilities without control, I don't know. When I said, have I heard of people displaying metahuman abilities without control, I was talking about specifically people who had trained in these technologies that I'm teaching. So those I have seen. I've been one of those people. There are times in my training, I did things that I didn't feel like in fact, a couple of times stuff came out of my hands and I touched people and certain things happened that, I have had to ask afterwards, what just happened? So yeah, but I'm talking about training. What you're talking about, if I'm being honest, and I could completely be wrong about this, maybe you are intuitively tapping into something, but it sounds like a fantasy. It sounds like you're fantasizing about that, driving down the street and having the street lamps, come on and off, at just the right time. That's not really that big of a deal. Or walking around and you were thinking of your friend and your friend calls. Those are just normal things. The stuff I'm talking about is the real stuff. Like real serious things. So my thought is probably, Jonathan, what you're talking about, what I'm talking about may not be the same thing. So I recommend you doing the work. I challenge you, do the 90-day challenge, and then tell me whether or not what you were talking about is around the same level. Maybe not, I don't know. Green Skydiver question. Green Skydiver, I don't know how many times, I haven't read the whole question, but look, I get the feeling. The feeling is you feel powerless. How can I? You want to feel confident and comfortable. You want somebody to give you a guarantee, and life doesn't work like that. You want to date a woman, right? You don't wait until you get a guarantee. This isn't the Sadie Hawkins dance where you sit around and wait for the woman to ask you out. You have to go take a risk, and you don't know if she's going to say yes or no. And even if she says yes, you still don't know if she's going to want to have a second or a third date. You don't know if you're going to like her. So again, you're so wrapped up in your own fear and insecurity. I'm not judging you on it. You're not going to think yourself out of it. So stop trying. Just go do the practices. And along the way, you will learn. So all of your questions to me have the same flavor. I haven't read your question. I'll read it now. We'll see if I'm right. You say, no. Green Skydiver, not Jonathan Allen, sorry, Green Skydiver's question. How can people who haven't fulfilled their soul desire be happy in the short term? I mean, it's, so you, again, you're looking for, I want a feeling right now. You want to be happy right now. You're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to go after your soul desire, and you'll be happy or you'll be unhappy. So stop trying to force me into your box. I get it that you don't like the way that you feel. I get it that you're afraid and you're insecure and you're unhappy and you want to feel good now. I get it. But stop trying to force me to tell you what I've already told you is not how life works. You know, this is why people do drugs and drink. This is why they gamble and visit hookers. They want to feel good right now, but it'll cost you. So feeling good, if you don't want to do it that way and throw your energy away to feel good momentarily, then you're going to have to work for it, and it'll cost you. So I don't know what else to tell you. Get over it or not, but just take the action. You haven't done the work. I can tell already you haven't been on my channel. You haven't done the work. Go to career.thunderwizard.com. And you can get that video training package, which will help you find your soul desire, or watch my videos on my channel, or read the book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. Until you do the work, you won't know, and you'll keep asking the same question. And so I'm going to stop with this dialogue with you now, which is, stop asking me how you can change the way you feel right now so you'll feel powerful enough to take action. Stop asking me. It doesn't work like that. Be okay being uncomfortable and take action. I would suggest that you stop asking me questions for the time being. Go do the work, and then you'll have specific actions based on knowledge, not on not knowing. Okay? So again, you're trying to ask me questions about Australia and you've never seen pictures of it. You're just going to have to go and find out what it looks like. So Pro Vagyak, you say you want to learn from me. Great. So here's what happens. Have you heard this phrase? And when you go and train with a teacher, the teacher says, empty your cup. You can come back and get your knowledge later, but don't come into my classroom and start teaching. Okay? It's disrespectful to everybody. So you're working against yourself if what you want to do is learn from me and at the same time talk about yourself. That's not what we're here to do. If you want to learn from me, then do the work. Let's see, am I pointing in the right direction? Yeah. If you want to learn from me, do the work, either on the free channel or on the Thunder Wizard channel. That's how you learn. Just coming and listening to me talk is nothing. It means nothing. Okay? So I'm looking forward to answering a better question from you after you've done some of either the free exercises or any of the other stuff here. Until then, it's good to have respect, to sit down and listen and take direction. If you don't want to do that, then you don't want to learn from me, and that's okay. And go do your own thing on your own time. All right, what else? Jameson, honest feeling, thank you. Kindly makes lots of sense. Frustrating how many of the problems are codependence, but alas, I'm on the path, progress, not perfection. Yeah, it's just one day at a time. That's it. Just, again, I've said it before. What are the things I need to do today? Do the next indicated thing. Wash my teeth, wash my hair, I don't have any hair. Wash your hair, brush your teeth, pay your bills, take a dump, go to a meeting, talk to your sponsor, do your meditations, go to school. Just do the next indicated thing and your feelings are going to be whatever they are. Jay Cloudy developed. Question, how can I let go of anger and sadness from my childhood traumas? Welcome to the channel. Everybody else, you know what I'm going to say, right? When do I ever tell you to let go of, get over anything? I will never teach you how to let go of your anger. I will never teach you how to get over this or change that feeling. Let's go back to my definition of enlightenment. You have all of your thoughts, all of your feelings, all of your impulses, and you have them and accept them and feel them without judgment. And then you take constructive action. So the question, isn't how to let go of your anger and sadness. Your question is how to have your anger and your sadness and work through it. And for that, there are people called psychologists. I have a psychologist I've been working with for over 25 years. I go to group therapy. I have a 12-step program that I go to. I have people that I talk to. You need to find somebody to talk to. So that's how. You probably won't be able to do it alone. I'm constantly finding myself full of hatred and despair. I do not want to live like this forever. So you can change that. One of the ways that you can transform your anger and work through it is this. That will open up your heart center. The pain, the sadness will come to the surface, and you will learn to transform that and turn those emotions, which are your energy, which are now being locked up in negative things like anger, sadness, and all that. You're fighting with it. You're now, all that energy is locked up within you. So when you learn to have those feelings, you can transform that energy into joy. Anger can be turned into more powerful boundaries. That anger can be turned into accepting of others. It's not an intellectual thing. Don't try and force it. You're going to have to go through the process. Do that practice and talk to somebody. That's my suggestion for you. If you want what I have, you got to do what I do, and that's what I've done. Green Skydiver says, I was thinking about other people. What? What question? How can people who haven't fulfilled their soul desire be happy in the short term? I don't believe you. Why would you waste your time doing that? Nobody does that. If you honestly were thinking about other people, that's what's called projection. So look up the term psychological projection. We all do it. There's nothing wrong with it, but it means that this is really about you. Because nobody walks around thinking like that. Nobody does that. If you do that, it's because you can't tolerate the thought within yourself. For whatever reason, you can't tolerate the thought or the feeling that, how do I be happy now when I haven't fulfilled my soul desire? If you're asking because you want to know what other people do, it's because you want to be able to do it. So forgive me for saying so, but don't bullshit me. Maybe you weren't trying to bullshit me, but it's clear to me that this is psychological projection. And own it. It's okay to ask that question. How can I be happy in the short term if I haven't fulfilled my soul desire? That's a good question, but I answered it for you. So learn how to talk about yourself. If you really are talking about other people, don't waste my time with those questions. I'm only interested in helping you. If somebody else has that question and they want to know for themselves, they can ask me and I'll help them. But it's not your job to be asking about, see what I mean? Because that's what I'm saying. It's about you. It's not about other people. But what you just exhibited is a very common defense mechanism. Because normally people will shame you out of that. But it makes you feel superior if you can talk about others. I wonder other people, what do they do? And it's a way of not owning the vulnerability of the shame that you would feel if you were to admit, I don't know what my soul desire is and I'm not happy right now. It's shameful and embarrassing to admit that to people. So instead of that, we play these games with ourselves and go, I wonder what other people think. No, I'm okay. I'm not talking about me. I'm fine. I'm just wondering what other... Okay, what else? Devin Dutson. It's not a question. That's what we like here. He says, many near-death experiences describe being forced to go towards the light. No, that's not true. I don't know where you're getting that. and you're talking to one. And that's nonsense. You believe that because that's your experience. Again, this is projection. So this is your fear, your experience, I'm guessing. You know, like that whole don't go to the light. There are evil archons of light, you know, beings pretending to be beings of light. You know, the ironic thing is, you know, if you read Tibetan Buddhism, they tell you exactly what happens at death. And it's, you know, the whole Tibetan Book of the Dead. The Tibetan Book of the Dead makes it really clear that upon your death, a light will appear. And if you fearlessly go into that light, poof, you now become enlightened and you no longer have to reincarnate. But if the light appears, what happens is most people become afraid. Most souls, when that light appears, they become afraid. And the moment that you have fear, your fear pulls you back into these bardos, which are other different realms, and eventually you become reborn again. So if that's the case, that somebody had some near-death experience and felt that the light was forcing them to go towards the light and all that, that is exactly what the Tibetan Buddhists explained. I know because I went through it. I've been there. I've been to that light. And I can tell you that the light is, it will completely, just like Dr. Manhattan, it will just explode you into all directions. And the light itself is pure bliss. It is orgasmic bliss beyond your wildest imaginations. It's uncomfortable. It's so orgasmically blissful. That's why people like to have orgasms, because it's a tiny little 0.0001% of the experience of what happens when you go into that light. And nobody's forced back, ever. That never happens. What will happen is you will choose to come back. You might be told that you have other things to accomplish, but it means that there are things that you want to learn and experience, but you'll always be given a choice. You can choose to stay or go. It's completely up to you. And when you choose to reincarnate, it will be your choice. So my thoughts on all that is that it's fear-based nonsense. And people who believe that way, they are not happy in life. And my question to everybody listening is, are you happy? It's okay if you're not. I'm happy. I have my challenges, but I'm happy. And I have learned the actions that I need to take to stay happy. And one of them is to get rid of that fear-based nonsense garbage. That when you die, that there's some being out there that's going to force you to do this or to do that. You're God. You're God. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. So that means if you're here and you feel like you're trapped, it's because you chose to be here and you've forgotten the whole game you came here to play. And that's part of the game. The game isn't any fun if you don't get completely engrossed in it. It's no fun. The soul doesn't want to be bored. It wants to sit there and eat popcorn and watch this intense drama that it's in. So my suggestion is to drop all that nonsense. All right, Pro-Vagyak. I'm going to block you because I've already told you how to interact with me. This is not, you're not teaching the class with me. You're here to learn, which means if you want to learn from me, you ask questions or you follow directions, and you're not listening to me. So every teacher, when a student comes in, they look at a student and they say, can I teach this person? Every teacher's, their deepest desire for their student is that their student become better than they are. If the student isn't willing or able to learn, then it's a waste of everybody's time. So since Pro-Vagyak, I've made it clear what I want. You're not doing that. You're still wanting to dump your opinion in about this and that. I haven't called on you. Said, hey, what is your thoughts? So I'm going to block you. You're welcome to the channel, and I hope you take advantage of everything, but you're disrupting other people's ability to do their job. Okay? All right, so that's that. Nothing personal. This happens all the time, by the way, if you go to China. Like if you go to China and you walk in, actually not so much now. All the Chinese masters are leaving. In fact, there are people in the West. In fact, the guy who is the grand master of the monkey style kung fu is actually an Arabic guy. The people that are teaching Wing Chun are usually Americans or Europeans. So strange things happening. But what used to happen is when you walk into the kung fu dojo, the studio, you came in and you said, "I'd like to learn," and the teacher would say, "Good, go do this, go do that." But if you walked in and you said, "Hi, I'm from such and such, and I've trained in this, and I'm interested in your teaching, and what do you do?" He's going to say, "Thank you very much, there's the door." He's not going to teach you. He doesn't want to waste his time. I'm telling you this because this is how the universe works. You want to learn from the universe, you don't go and start telling the universe everything you think you know. You just go and you listen. You ask for what you want to learn and you listen. And if you learn how to do that, a good teacher will teach a student how to do that, so eventually the student can learn directly from the universe without a teacher. That's the goal. So that's my desire for you guys as well. Okay, that's it. No more thoughts, no more questions, no more feelings. All right, so we're all done. All right, so the links are all there. Am I pointing in the right direction? Yeah. All the links are all there for you to look at. Go check them all out. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care of yourselves.